Okay, we're ready to start with our next lecture for Chapter 3. So this is Section 5.3 called the product of two binomials. And we learned in the last two sections about polynomials, what they are, ways we can name them, how to find the degree, how we usually write our polynomials in descending powers of x. And so now we're going to actually do some math, do a little bit of math, algebra. Okay, so here's an introduction to multiplying binomials. So you know how to use the distributive property to multiply a constant by a binomial. And remember, a binomial is a polynomial with two terms. So for example, we have 4 times the quantity of x plus 5. So you would take 4 times x plus 4 times 5, and you would write that as 4x plus 20. So that suppose that instead of 4 times the quantity of x plus 5, you have another binomial times x plus 5, such as x plus 3. So we're taking a binomial times a binomial. So what if we're trying to figure out x plus 3 times x plus 5? How do we do that? So you can still distribute x plus 3 the same way that you did with the 4. Both expressions simply stand for numbers. So let's actually see what that would look like. So what we did was we took this 4 times the x. So instead of taking 4 times the x, we're going to take x plus 3 times the x. So we'll do x plus 3 times x. And then we'll take, instead of taking 4 times 5, we're going to take x plus 3 times 5. So we'll do x plus 3 times 5. So now we have to use the distributive property twice. And we'll distribute, first we'll distribute our x to the x and the 3. X times x is x squared. 3 times x is 3x. And now we'll distribute the 5. 5 times x is 5x. And 5 times 3 is 15. And then we do want to combine like terms. These two middle terms are like terms. 3x plus 5x makes 8x. So our final answer is x squared plus 8x plus 15. And that's an explanation for how to multiply binomials. So there's a quicker way to multiply than this. And we're going to use a procedure that I'll refer to as FOIL, kind of like a verb. I'll say, let's FOIL these binomials. But FOIL is actually an acronym. So if you don't remember what an acronym is, or you've never heard that before, an acronym has the first letter of, or each letter in the acronym stands for the first letter of a word. And so the F in FOIL stands for first, the O in FOIL stands for outer, the I in FOIL stands for inner, and the L stands for last. And that's referring to the order of terms that we're gonna multiply together. So we call FOIL a mnemonic device. So the M in mnemonic is silent. A mnemonic device or a memory device for how to multiply binomials. It helps us to remember the word FOIL. So let's see what that actually looks like. So we're going to take the first two terms times each other. That is the F, the first terms. So the first term in this binomial x plus 3 is x. And the first term in the second binomial is also x. And so we're going to multiply x times x. Now will be x squared. And so that's our first term. So let's see if I can color code this. Let's do blue for our outer terms. So our outer terms are going to be the ones on the outside. So x is on the outside and 5 is on the outside. X times 5 is 5x. And we want to take the signs and multiply them as well. So x is positive and the 5 has a plus on it, so we're going to end up with a plus 5x. Okay. Now let's look at the inner terms. So the inner terms are the ones on the inside. 3 times x. 3 and x are the inner terms. And then hopefully you're figuring out the pattern and that you can see that the last terms would be 3 and 5. 3 times 5 is 15. So notice that each piece is used more than once, so x is both a first term and an outer term. 3 is both an inner term and a last term. Okay, so now let's combine like terms. Oops. And we get x squared plus 8x plus 15. And so, of course, we got the same answer as we did before when we did a little bit more writing. Now, you might start to get really good at these multiplying binomials, and you can do mental math or skip steps when you're ready. So what I mean by that is you'll be able to see the question and skip right to the answer. So you would skip this step once you get more advanced, which I highly recommend. Skipping steps once you really get the hang of these, and you'll be a lot faster. Okay, so let's do a few examples. And so each time we're going to FOIL. And I'm not going to color code each FOIL question because that would probably take us a while to keep changing the pen color. But okay, so let's start with our first terms. That's the F in FOIL. The first terms are x and x. X times x is x squared. The outer terms would be x times 2 is 2x. The inner terms would be 7 times x is 7x. And the last terms, 7 times 2 is 14. Our two middle terms are like terms. We'll combine them to get x squared plus 9x plus 14. All right, example 2. Okay, so we'll take our first terms, x times x is x squared. I should have said pause, and you try this one on your own. So go ahead and pause the video. Try this one on your own. Did you pause? Did you get it? Okay, sorry. So let's do x times x is x squared. X times 8, those would be our outer terms, would be 8x. Inner terms would be 5 times x. And our last terms, 5 times 8 is 40. So we combine like terms, 8x plus 5x is 13x. That doesn't really look like a 13. There we go. Plus 40. Okay? And remember, we're foiling each and every time. FOIL. First, outer, inner, last. All right, now let's add in a minus. So we'll start usual. I should say, go ahead and pause and try this one on your own and see if you can figure out what you would do with the minus. Okay, let's see if you got the right answer. X times x, x squared, those are our first terms. Our outer terms, we write as plus 8x. Inner terms, so when you take the minus 3, it's like having a negative 3 times an x, which would be negative 3x, and then the last terms would be minus 24. So you would do negative 3 times positive 8, which will give you negative 24. So again, like I said, once you get advanced, you can skip this step. You can even skip drawing the arrows, and you'll be able to do these questions a lot faster. Okay, example 4. Now we're going to put a minus on the second number here. So FOIL first, x times x is x squared. Outer, x times minus 10 is at minus 10x. Inner, 2 times x is positive 2x. And last, 2 times negative 10 is negative 20. X squared minus 8x minus 20. Okay? Example 5, go ahead and pause. Try to do this one on your own. See if you get the right answer. Did you pause? Okay, let's see how you did. First terms, x times x is x squared. Outer terms, on the outside, x times a minus 9 is a minus 9x. Inner terms, negative 7 times x is negative 7. And last terms, when we do a minus 7 times a minus 9, we get a positive 63. So be careful with the signs. If you get the signs wrong, you've got it half wrong. It's not just a little bit wrong, it's a lot wrong. 50% is not a good score to be at, right? So make sure you're getting the signs correctly or else you're not understanding the material. Okay, so hopefully you got x squared minus 16x plus 63. Okay, now we are going to set, instead of just having x's, we're going to now have numbers in front of the x's, coefficients in front of the x's other than 1. And so multiplying will be a little bit harder. So we'll have to take 3x times 4x. First terms would be 12x squared. Outer terms, 3x times a positive 1 would be plus 3x. Inner terms, negative 5 times positive 4x would be negative 20x. And last terms, negative 5 times a positive 1 is a negative 5. We want to combine like terms. 3x minus 20x makes 17x. So we get 12x squared minus 17x minus 5. Okay, now this one. Simplify x, quantity of x minus 3 squared. So this is a question that a lot of students will answer incorrectly. A lot of students will tell me why the answer is x squared plus 9. I took the x and I squared it, and I took the minus 3 and I squared it, and look, Mrs. Cossack, I even got the plus 9 because I knew I was supposed to do negative 3 times negative 3. So this is incorrect. That's not the right answer. It happens all of the time. What you need to do is take x minus 3 and copy it to square it, because we're actually going to be foiling. This method that I showed you here is incorrect. We need to FOIL. So we need to do first terms, x times x is x squared. Outer terms, x times a minus 3 is a minus 3x. Inner terms, minus 3 times x is minus 3x. And last terms, negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9. So be really careful with the signs because they have to be right. Minus 3x minus 3x makes a minus 6x. So we get x squared minus 6x plus 9. All right. How to check your answers. So it is possible to check your answers to this kind of problem by substituting a simple value of x into both the original expression and to the answer. So it's not exactly fast, but it is possible. So for an example 4, let x, for instance, let x equal to 3. So we already did example 4, but let me show you how I would do this one in my head. So I know the first terms are easy to do in my head. It's the middle terms that are hard. So I look and I take x times a minus 10 as a minus 10x. 2 times x is 2x. Negative 10x plus 2x. I do that in my head and I get minus 8x. And then plus 2 times a minus 10 is a minus 20. So you can see I have questions and I wrote answers. That was just a little bit on how to do it in your head. Now let's actually check our answer by letting x equal to 3. So I'm going to let x equal 3 for this top line. And so what I'm going to do is each time I see an x, I plug in a 3. And so I'll do 3 plus 2 and 3 minus 10 instead of x plus 2 and x minus 10. So I'll show you with a blue so you can see it. Here are my x's. second one where the x is, that's where we're going to put 3 plus 2 times 3 minus 10, 5 times negative 30. So if I did, in fact, FOIL this correctly, I should get negative 5 when I plug in 3 for x into x squared minus x minus 20. So I want to do 3 squared minus 8 times 3 minus 20. 3 squared is 9 minus 9 minus 24 is negative 15. Negative 15 minus 20 is negative 35. So the negative 35s match. So x squared minus 8x minus 20 is the correct answer. It's usually best to plug in a really easy number. We plugged in 3. 1 is another really good option, and so is 0, although sometimes 0 is not very helpful. And that's it.